Welcome to another episode of Paranormal the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to make the world a little more normal. Does it ever happen? No, it hasn't happened yet, Munchkin. I know. But maybe someday. I don't know. But it hasn't happened yet, and it's not going to happen tonight. So I'm already declaring that in the beginning of this one. So it's not going to get normal tonight by any means. But as always, I brought guests with me to try to help me get a grip on this normalcy. And no, you're not the guest, Munchkin, not this week. But my guests tonight are Katie and Chris from the Stop Thinking with Your Butt podcast, which I love that fucking name. I do. Like the first time I saw that name on Twitter, I was dying laughing. But
we aim to please.
I'm just glad it was still available.
You'd be amazed at the things that people haven't taken yet. But first of all, welcome to you both. And how you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we actually just got done. We just got done recording an episode on cloning, so that was fun.
Oh, that's a fun.
It started off as cloning, and it turned into sex cults, which is also Chris's Christmas wish list. So it kind of
is a UFO religion cult that we were exploring.
Wait a minute. Just to clarify for my listeners and myself.
Oh yeah.
Is it on his Christmas? Is it on his Christmas wish list to join a sex cult or to research one?
Oh gosh, it is a 50-50 toss-up. I think that the research leads to the want to join. We're going to get our memberships in the mail, I think.
Yeah, I told her we have an appointment 2 months from now. There's a convention down here. No.
Well, as long as you don't drink the Kool-Aid, I think it'll be fine. But
that's true.
Other than that, the only thing I can say is for that kind of cult, you got to just relax, unwind, and oil up. But
yeah, oil up all the proper orifices.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. We just did a cult sprec on one of my other shows a couple of weeks ago, and cults can get very wrong very fast. But so, for those who don't know, Stop Thinking with Your Butt podcast is more of an all spices of life type of show. They've done several paranormal episodes, I've noticed. And they also, like this, go into cults, conspiracies, and everything in between, even more normal stuff, I'm sure, once in a while. But who likes normal? Come on.
Exactly. No. That's boring. Normal's boring.
If I wanted to hear about how to bake something, I wouldn't listen to a podcast. I mean, so, but first question I ask everybody in the show, and you guys can answer this in whichever order you like, but what got you into, I'll edit it a little for you guys even, what made you want to do episodes on some of these topics, like the more paranormal, supernatural topics?
Do you mind if I?
Yeah, okay. I'll let you start.
So I got onto the ghost hunting train before it became a train, when it was just like a little trolley, when it was just taking off. What was it, like early 2000s when ghost hunters shows started coming out, and I started to watch all these shows and just being fascinated with some of the evidence that they were catching. And it wasn't the shows that were every bump in the night was something paranormal. It was legitimate. They would weed it out. And then I started to see shows along the line of, there was this little boy talking about how he remembered his previous life as an adult man, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. He was like 3 or 4 years old and remembering vivid detail about a life he had lived before.
Yeah, reincarnation. Yep.
And so I asked my mom, who's super religious. I'm like, Mom, this boy remembers living before. And she just looks at me dead in the eyes and says, I'm so sorry that the devil is working so hard in you. So from there on, I was like, oh, the devil's working on me. I'll take 2, please. And I've just been running full force, really interested in all these things that can't be explained. So that's where I kind of get started.
Ooh. Well, I mean, we hear a lot of that in this show, especially in my generation to a few generations before me. The disapproving family who never wanted you to, they would tell you to turn away or to ignore things or to, it's just, I hate the idea of it. I hate it existed. I like that. I love that it's now better in the world, and a lot of parents aren't like that anymore. But because they all are now into it themselves, because it's becoming a nationally worldwide thing to be into this type of stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
So religion breaking down religious barriers. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and for the audience who don't know, me and Katie have been together since high school.
Mm-hmm.
So we've I think she was 15, I was 17.
Yeah, 15.
So we've been around for a while together.
Well, the listeners of my show may know this, but I don't think you two might. My wife's name is also Katie.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot of Katies out there. I hope she's amazing. She got to keep true to the Katie name.
She's the best. I love her with all my heart. I wouldn't have married her and got 2 dogs because she wanted them.
Always.
We're always in the market for another animal.
Yeah, so I was with Katie obviously when we were watching some of those, ghost hunter shows and so on, and I actually really like the not the debunking, but just the filtering of facts and using context and everything else, right? Because I think you could be open-minded, but you can't be so open where you're just gullible to every single thing that comes out there. And then I think when I was in college, I had a paranormal experience where we talked about it in one of our episodes or whichever, but so I was at West Point's one of those military academy things, and it's been, I think it's the oldest military post in the history of America. And so they have a lot of just a lot of history, a lot of ghost experience and so on. And I remember I was leaving my room in the middle of the night to walk across the hall, go to the bathroom, because it's kind of like group bathrooms and
community bathrooms.
Yeah. And this may have been like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm pretty awake when I'm awake. I don't wake up and I'm not drowsy or
that's one of my
anything.
That's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah.
His
She doesn't
immediate
like that.
alertness.
Yeah. So I get out and I open the door and I walk across the hallway, and it's laundry day. So we have a bunch of laundry in the halls on the side of the hallway. And as I go across, I see a cadet sitting down against the wall with his legs sticking out in the in the middle of the hall, and his body, if you look at all the different laundry, is elevated higher, right? The height is higher than the laundry baskets. And so as I walk in the bathroom, I'm like, that's kind of odd. It's like 1 o'clock, and this person looked like he was in uniform and crying. And so I'm like, oh, well, let me walk back and just double check what's kind of going on. And so I entered, I took a step back out, looked down the hall, and nothing. No, and didn't hear a door close, didn't hear someone scramble. It was like just a quick forward and backwards look, nothing. So I'm like, huh, that's odd. And I just moved on with my life. And I went to the bathroom. Then I was getting some water. And then as I was getting some water, I saw a white glowing hand like at the corner of my eye, as if it was going to like tap me on the shoulder or something like that. And I don't get scared, I guess, but I did panic a little bit just internally. And, we have a mirror in front of us and I'm washing my hands. And I'm like, the only thing that can make this scarier is if I look up, my nose starts to bleed. Those stereotypes in the movies and so on. And as I look up to the mirror, my nose starts to bleed. And I'm like, okay, I'm moving on here. And I try to run over to bed. So that was one of my paranormal experiences.
Ooh, and a good one at that. I mean,
yeah.
I actually grew up somewhere near West Point, so as soon as you said West Point, I was like, "Oh, interest sparked."
Yeah,
screaming the Lord's Prayer back to bed.
No, I did. I just went to bed, and I didn't, and I still, like we'll go to haunted. Like we were in New York, and we found a couple haunted schools and other places that we went to just for fun. And I don't get spooked about that, but I'm open to the idea.
Yeah. Are you guys still New Yorkers or no?
No,
we're in Oregon right now in Portland.
We've been all over the U.S., but yeah,
all right. Well,
Oregon now.
I can ask this then. Where in New York did you live?
You were in Highland Falls.
Yep, I was in Highland Falls. Newburgh,
and
Newark,
and
area.
Well, the Newark airport is where we traveled from. Where were we?
Yeah, pretty much right outside West Point.
Yeah, it was Newburgh. It was Newburgh. I went to school in New Paltz for a while.
Shit. Yeah, all right. Maria. Grew up for 20 years in Tilson, New York. And went to high school in Kingston, New York.
Okay, I know where Kingston is. Okay, I know where that is. I don't know where the first place is.
Tilson's in between New Paltz and Kingston.
Ah.
It's right before Rosendale if you're going from New Paltz to Kingston.
Oh, I was like, I love New Paltz. I love New Paltz.
Nice area.
I would have lived there. First pumpkin
Oh,
patch.
Really?
First pumpkin patch ever. New Paltz.
Nice.
I spent a long time in New Paltz when I was a kid. It's an awesome town, but wow, synchronicities like that just always throw me for a loop when I'm doing podcasts. And it's like they know where I'm from, actually.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I love it. I love it. We would have actually, if we weren't so freaking poor when we were at that time in our lives, we might have stayed in New York a little longer.
Well, I mean, I was in the military, so
Yeah.
I moved around over 2 years after that, and then got out.
Yeah, it would have been much more enjoyable if we weren't poor college kids.
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah, New Paltz is one of those towns you need money in to do stuff.
Yeah,
but especially nowadays, it got worse. Trust me. But
I bet
there's a reason I moved out of New York. But
yeah.
But I will. All right. So the latest episode you guys did, the last 2 episodes you guys did, I should say, were about one of the biggest topics in the paranormal field. So I kind of had to start with it, and that would be my good friend, Mr. Sasquatch.
Mr. the Squatch.
I actually have a mascot for my ads in the show. I call him Squatchy.
Squatchy.
Yeah, he's
Watch out,
he's kind of my Bigfoot Chewbacca sidekick. So.
Yeah, he's like my spirit animal or spirit creature, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, Katie was waiting a while to do that episode.
I've been wanting to do Bigfoot justice for a while, and I think I got at least 2 more episodes in me, but I'm going to take a break for a little while, bring back some of the variety. But man, he's out there. He's out there.
Oh, anybody who doubts it, I seriously just question like what's going on in their head. I'm like, why? How can you deny so much evidence nowadays? Like, it's not like it was when I was a kid, even, and there was no evidence.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so you heard that I interviewed a law enforcement official. They had their experience. They had their encounter. And then I, as a transcriptionist for Hollywood, came across footage I wasn't supposed to see. So I know more than I probably should.
Oh my God! I am now curious. I mean, I'm sure you can't say things, but still, it's just that is unbelievable. Yeah. That's awesome. And
it's very, very cool.
What happened on the transcription thing?
Okay, so I'll say it a little bit because I did sign a non-disclosure, but
you just can't say
I'm not going to say the name of the show, and I'm not going to say the company I was transcribing for. So I used to transcribe. I was working from home doing my side hustle. And so I would get video clips of TV shows that haven't aired yet. And it's all the raw footage. It's all the behind the scenes. It's all the unedited. It's the producers saying that was good, but say it again with more emotion, or don't say that, or, just over and over. So it's kind of raw, kind of scripted, kind of not scripted. So I'm watching this one show. And it's unusual when you take a job, it's unusual to get the same show back to back to back. Like I'll get an episode of a cooking show, and then I'll get an episode of a dating show, and then an episode of like some stupid rap show. This one instance, I got 3 jobs, and they were all the same show. And it's men out in the woods in overalls and straw hats and big burly beards and bottles of moonshine. So I'm not going to say the show. Mm-hmm. But they're hunting something. And it's really in the dead of night. So it's really happening at the time they say it's happening, and it's really happening in the location they say it's happening at. But in terms of the be a bigger redneck, say this, but be dumber about it. So I'm watching the show, and they're doing their whole scripted. The producer is saying this and doing that, and they're doing their thing. And then I go to the next clip, and the video clip starts really abruptly. It just starts, and everybody is panicking, and it's in the grayscale. So they have the night camera on. It's grayscale. Everything's dark, and everybody's like freaking out, like legit fear and like a total chaos and pandemonium. And you can hear the producer saying, he's like, keep in character, use that energy. So what had happened is someone finally is talking. He's like, I can't believe that happened. One of the sound guys, his name is Pablo, got picked up by something and thrown into the woods, and everybody is thinking it's a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not saying saying
Yeah.
what they saw because everybody's freaking out. And that goes on for about 10 minutes of people just like scrambling. If you imagine like knocking down an anthill, that's what
That's
what
what
this
it
is
looked
like.
like.
And then the footage just stops. And then I transcribe the next section. It's kind of back to normal. And the episode never airs. They never air that episode. And I go back to all my transcriptions and I can find all the work I've done before and after, but I can't find the work for that one segment.
Government.
Government, right?
Oh, they I guarantee they cleared that off the database. 100%.
So I'm just saying, I'm like, it's out there. It's out there. If not Bigfoot, something.
Well, one, I'm pretty sure we all know what show you're talking about, but we're not going to say here. Just keep your NDA intact.
Keep my NDA.
But yeah, it could be a Bigfoot. Definitely, that sounds like something that's happened before with Bigfoot encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, Munchie. I won't let Bigfoot get you. Don't worry. But I mean, it also could easily have been a dogman.
Oh, see, we haven't researched into Dogman very much. Uh-oh.
Sorry, one of their cats.
We had a cat fight.
I'm like, is there a spirit in your house? That'd be awesome. But
well, okay, so Chris went to a energy healer not that long ago, and she told him that that you were haunted.
That I was we did it just for fun, because I was at work. We travel, so I look at random stuff in the area, and I'm like, sure, let me try this. I was in downtown and had like a spiritual healer or things like that. And while we're doing this, it's basically like they're trying to get the same vibrations, and so it's almost like a Swedish massage. But when they find a knot, they'll like try to sync their voice,
try to chant it out of you.
Mm-hmm. So just a fun thing that I just did, I guess. But while we're in there, they're like, did you bring the spirit with you? Is this spirit yours? And I'm like, come again? Say that one more time. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I wish I would have asked more questions in the moment, but I didn't. I just know that the person was like, it's not talking, it's just tapping me on the shoulder. It's not saying anything to me. And I'm like, that's weird.
And I've been 75% more terrified in our home since you told me that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better not to know. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we got at least one in my house. We're not sure what we have honestly anymore. I don't know. We don't know. It's just weird. And I have a past guest that I'm gonna get to come clear out my house finally. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, I can't wait because it's just weird. I think it will improve our lives dramatically if whatever's in this house disappears.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that we don't know everything going on around us, and so I'm a big proponent that energy lingers. I don't see why it couldn't linger.
I mean, the amount of dimensions that could be right around us with other creatures walking through them that we don't even know are there is literally enough to keep you up at night if we didn't use things to make us go to sleep at night. So
yeah, but melatonin.
Well, it's kind of interesting. One of our topics that are kind of the paranormal piece. I think the episode's called Hatman.
Yeah, the Universal Nightmare.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Had a bunch of feedback because we'll ask anyone who had any type of sleep paralysis experience, any type of Hatman experience, because I think even our family, I've had sleep paralysis a couple of times. Katie has seen the Hatman. Our children apparently has seen the Hatman when they were awake. And I'm like, oh, bullcrap. I don't recall that. And sure enough, we paused the episode. I went to ask the kids about the situation, and they're like, oh yeah, it was, I don't know how long ago, but they saw the Hatman enter our son's room. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you actually like see it? And like, yeah, we both saw it. And then they went in there.
Our lives, Dad.
Yeah, apparently I'm not in their lives. So that was kind of interesting. And if you haven't done any type of, if you haven't had sleep paralysis, that goes back through a lot of different cultures.
Centuries.
Yep.
Yep.
Cultures, or I know science is explaining it, with the REM and you trying to sleep and your body's just trying to shut down type of thing. But I thought it was interesting. I went on a UFO hunt when I was in Vegas, And we would have people who basically would say that the sleep paralysis was almost associated with alien abductions. And it was kind of like a mind wiper, memory wiper, something related to that. And it threw me off because if you haven't experienced it, it did felt like my head was kind of like in a kind of like a washer machine type of thing. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Are you admitting to me right now that you've been abducted by aliens?
No, of course not. No, we talked about that. No, but like you felt the pressure on your chest. You heard the everything, and if you don't know what's going on, you're like, this is just a weird experience. It feels like someone's there, type of thing. So I don't know if Jeremy, you ever experienced it or anything.
No, I've been fortunate enough not to, but
yeah.
I've been fortunate enough not to be abducted by aliens.
I mean, it is a theory that alien abduction and sleep paralysis could be linked. It's a weak connection, I think. But
yes,
I can't say there. I don't know. I mean,
I would say
there's a lot. There's a lot of things it could be though, and that's the problem. Is there's a lot of different areas it could go into. I mean, it goes into interdimensional stuff like 100%. It has to do something with that. It has to. It's something's coming through, and when it comes through, it's making you get stuck in that, just in that zone for like a few minutes or even a minute. And I don't know. It's just creepy. It's creepy. The stories I've heard of it terrify me. Like, I would not want that to happen. Like, I've seen drawings people have done of things they've seen while they're in sleep paralysis, and it's like, oh my God, like I do not want to see that thing in my bedroom ever.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Yes, and the interesting piece. So I knew of the visual hallucinations and so on. I had no idea that people who experience sleep paralysis have audio hallucinations as well, right? Or
Would you say
they
that
hear
it was
things.
a unique experience?
Yes, it was unique. But for like my experience, my second one that happened, I was just hanging out in a hotel. I was traveling for work again, and I sleeping on my side, and I can feel the impressions or the imprints of on my bed as if something was crawling over my body / bed. So I'm like, that's odd. It feels like something's physically on the bed. And then I heard a low growl about an inch away from my ear. And it was just like, and I'm like, I don't get scared a lot. I did infantry stuff. I don't get scared of paranormal or anything. I was petrified. I've never been petrified before. But when you hear a demonic growl an inch away from your ear, I did not move. I played dead. I said, just go away.
There's actually a name for that. It's called actually exploding head syndrome.
Oh.
What is that?
It's when you have, it's basically what you just described. It's when you, in the state between waking and sleeping, or either way, from going from sleep to wake or going from wake to sleep. If you, it's when you basically have an audio hallucination, you hear something in like that state of in between. And it could be, it's called exploding head syndrome because people sometimes, it literally feels like their head's exploding when it happens. And they like will jump up out of bed and be like, what the heck? And like, it's just
definitely didn't jump out of bed. I was just like, I'm not opening my eyes. I'm closing it.
My big burly warrior play dead.
Yeah, play dead.
I mean, it's weird. Like at night when I'm laying in bed, like there are nights I hear like music playing, and I'm like, we don't live that close to neighbors at all. Like there's no music being played around our house, and it's just like. It's like almost songs I could it's like melodies from songs I could think I would recognize, but I can't put the names of the song. And it's always like 70s, 80s melodies. And I was like, what the hell am I hearing? Like, and like I'll even sit up sometimes or like stick my head up at least enough where my ears aren't on the pillow. And I'm just like,
what is that?
I hear nothing now. What the hell? Like, and like voices once in a while too. Like, especially in the morning, like I'll think I hear my kids up, so I'll jump out of bed and tiptoe out of bed and go see if they're awake. They'll both be passed down in their bed, not awake, and I'm hearing like kids' voices like when I wake up, and I'm like, and there's no other kids next door to me or anything like that. Like that would be that early in the morning playing. So it's just like it's creepy. It's creepy, and it's like, okay, this is why I need coffee now, and this is why I'm going back to sleep now. But
that's why sage is available to cleanse homes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I did want to ask what your theory is, though, about with all the research you did do. what is your origin belief for Bigfoot? Because there are so many of them, and I always like hearing where people believe the most in.
Ooh, that is a hard question to answer. I think it's more alien. I think it's more extraterrestrial. It's so hard to say. So I had read some research somewhere that Bigfoot is a creature of dark matter. So there's things in nature that we can't see. There's sounds that we can't perceive, spectrums of light that we can't see. And there's a speculation that Bigfoot phenomenon lies in that
fourth dimension.
In that dimension of not being able to see or hear. And that when he is sighted, it's kind of like a glitch in the matrix, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Or that he's seen in the areas where he's seen, it's areas where there's like a ley line present or higher energy. Limestone is and quartz and certain elements in the ground could be pulling energy. So I don't know. What do you think it could be? If it's real, if he's out there.
I don't have a big.
You don't have it.
I don't have a big origin story.
Well,
not to disappoint.
I don't know. What about you? I've never heard of anybody's. Actually, I've never really. Part of what me and Chris do is we talk about these weird things together because nobody else in our lives want to talk about them.
All right. Well, see, your origin story hit like 4 different origin stories and put them in one kind of, which is kind of cool. Most people don't go that route, but it's funny because I am one of those people that goes that route. But I mean, I would like to say that the original theory I stuck to before I got more. I heard more over the years is, and always will be, kind of the whole Gigantopithecus theory.
Gigantopithecus.
That Bigfoot's always been around, and he will continue to be. It will continue to be around. I don't want to gender shame the female ones, but it will be around until probably after we are, because it's more resourceful. And the Gigantopithecus is just. It made the most sense. That's why I always clung to it. It made the most sense. It was just a lost species, a missing link. But nowadays they're telling us all these theories of it's not that he's an extraterrestrial, that it's a ultra terrestrial, that it's just something completely different. I don't know.
Yeah, my simplest hope is that it is just a Gigantopithecus that's been around, and we just have been blind to it. My secret hope is that it's a 4th dimension.
Well, that's the ultra terrestrial theory, because ultra means from another dimension, and basically, that's the theory, is that they're from another dimension. They come here for food or something like that, and some of them may want to stay here for a while because they like it. I don't know, but because they could track some of these ones, like going through Washington State, Oregon State, like they could track them. They could track easily, which is why people can't admit they're real, but we have tracking of them. Yeah, okay, whatever, people. Go listen to whatever the freaking CNN tells you. But
it's just like some of the UFO phenomenon. Like there was one guy who swears that there's a documentary called My Week with the Tall Whites or something like that, where an alien race was using Earth as like a pit stop. And he interacted with them for a week. So who knows? He seemed pretty credible at the time.
Well, okay. Well, all right. All right. Well, now that you brought UFOs, it all kind of ties together to I have a theory. I believe I made up on my own. I could have easily took it from somewhere and I don't remember I did that. That's possible. So
it's okay. I'll take credit for it regardless.
I don't like to take full credit for this anytime because I'm not 100% positive it came from me or other sources. But my belief is that extraterrestrials inhabited Earth before we did, or before anything did, and or maybe they even killed off the dinosaurs and took it over. I don't know, but they used Earth, and eventually it ended up becoming a prison planet because they were done with it. So it became a prison planet for other species of extraterrestrials that they did that this one species didn't like, or maybe there was even like a galactic UN or something, and it was species that none of them liked.
Mhm.
So Earth became a dumping ground for humans, Bigfoots, dogmen, all the cryptids that we know and love, and
Mhm.
maybe even ghosts too. I don't like to throw that one in there usually, but maybe ghosts. Who knows? They could be a less corporeal alien.
Yeah, I kind of like that theory. We're an older Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that would explain the UFOs flying over all the time because they're wardens, making
Yeah.
sure that none of the prisoners get off the planet.
Well, it's like my episode that I did on terraforming Earth and the Atlanteans and
Mhm.
the Klerkdorp spheres.
And terraforming.
So I'm convinced after my research that Klerksdorp spheres contain seeds and that Earth was probably terraformed many years ago.
And the whole Prometheus theory.
And Prometheus is
keeps
like,
coming up in
it's
our
like
research.
our origin story. Like we are
Well,
the epitome of Prometheus.
well, if you go by Big Mouth, it was a hormone monster that did that, but
Mhm.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I actually had a couple different authors on who wrote books about Atlantis,
Yeah.
and some interesting episodes right there. I'll tell you, because like their theories are similar but different, like very
Mhm.
different from each other's. And one almost swears he found Atlantis, like he swears that he found it and he knows exactly where it is, and him and his
Where
partner
is
are
it?
working.
Yeah. So where is it?
It's in it. The exact location always slips my mind, but he says it in the episode. But it's from a country I never really heard of, but it's it's in the middle of a desert in Africa, basically.
Oh, that's different. Well, I love it.
I know what you're talking about. I think it's called the Eye of the.
What?
It's it's the eye. It's just there are a lot of circular formations in Africa.
Oh.
I forgot what it's called off my head.
It might be the same thing. I'm not sure, honestly. Supposedly, they found a whole buried city, basically,
Mhm.
and they think it was the main Atlantis, but it wasn't all of Atlantis because Atlantis was a democracy and there was multiple city states.
Exactly.
Which the island that sank could easily be part of it too.
Yeah.
So
Off the coast of Greece. Mm-hmm. Oh,
I mean,
cool.
yeah. What was it? Yeah, Atlantis sank into the ocean, and the Atlanteans became mermaids.
Yeah.
You always got to throw some Futurama in there. We're talking Atlantis, but
Yeah.
That's
That's very cool. So the Eye of the Sahara.
Yep, Eye of the Sahara.
okay, yeah, that might be what it's called. Actually, might be similar, but yeah, the author of that book was very freaking knowledgeable. He could talk to me for 3 hours straight if I let him. So, which of course not, because no one's ever listened to a 3-hour episode about that. But in one sitting at least. But it's just, I don't know. It all goes back to extraterrestrials. It always does.
It always comes back, and it's really frustrating because I never wanted to ride that train. I never wanted to sail that boat. That was always more Chris's little expedition, this mission alien.
Mm-hmm.
And every topic that we talk about, it always comes back to
we started with cloning and went to the UFO cult.
Yeah,
that
it always
believes in cloning.
It always comes full circle.
Is there, Jeremy? You tell me. Do you have? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no! Please go ahead. No,
So for a lot of these cryptids, right? If you look at the North America cryptids, there's just a bunch.
Yep.
I know you mentioned Dogman and Bigfoot. Are there any cryptids that you do not believe? I guess, or have you?
One of my
don't
favorite
have faith in.
One of my favorite questions that answer always, and I mean, as my listeners know, I've said it before. I'm pretty sure on this show, but chupacabras.
Oh yeah.
Ah, thank you. I think it's just dogs with mange.
I mean, there's Mexican chupacabras and there's Puerto Rican chupacabras supposedly, and the Puerto Rican ones, from what I've been told, may be extraterrestrial in origin, and that would be a whole different story because those aren't really cryptid. Then they're just extraterrestrials, but
right.
which a lot of cryptids maybe. Who knows? But But yeah, chupacabras, I don't fully believe in. And you know, some of the lesser ones, like
I'll be right back.
I mean, frogmen. Obviously, I don't really believe in
Frogmen.
the Loveland frogmen. I really don't believe in that one as much. I
That's a new one. Okay.
I kind of more believe. I believe in goatmen more than I believe in because
Yeah.
there's a lot more little angry girl, but there's a lot more proof of goatmen than there are frogmen in this in history and mythology. So I kind of have to go with but yeah, frogman, chupacabra. There were two I would say I believe in the least likely. But then again, I always like to end up by saying everything's possible.
Everything is possible.
Except when I had to research the Jersey Devil.
Except the Jersey Devil.
Jersey Devil is interesting though, and they're still saying
it is. The origin story was very interesting.
I mean, the origin story is almost what makes people not believe in it though, because it sounds too, and it dates it. It dates it to like being one creature. And what's the Jersey Devil gonna make little devils with? There ain't no other one to make them with. Like, I just can't.
Unless it's immortal.
Unless it is, I mean, if it's truly demon spawn, then that's possible. That's highly possible. But I don't know. I mean, growing up in New York and like being that close to New Jersey, I've always heard about the Jersey Devil since I was a kid, and it's just, I don't know. I guess I'd have to really experience it to believe in it.
Well, to me, when we were researching it, it also goes by. Do you know the other name it goes by?
Wasn't it like Jumping Jack?
No, it goes by the Leeds.
Oh, the Leeds, Monster of Leeds?
The Leeds monster, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the interesting piece is when I was researching this thing, how much political background there was for this stuff, where you literally had Benjamin Franklin, who was setting up his publishing center, and Leeds was the competition in the area. And Leeds was actually one of these occultists, and so he already was going against the norm of the day, and was kind of even going against the monarchy. And so everyone kind of had it out for him, and Benjamin Franklin wanted to kind of take him out, and started spreading rumors about Leeds, and where it almost went into this whole piece where they started calling him the Leeds monster.
Yeah.
And it is almost just like a prank, I guess, but very extreme, to the point where it was Benjamin Franklin was being very OG in there with his he would call out the Leeds and say in his almanac that he published, you're going to be dead next year. Come back next year and find out, and so on. And the Leeds is like, no, I'm still alive. And he's like, who's this inferior publisher who's imposturing over here? And just a big rivalry based off his political clout and everything else. Once I got done researching that, I'm like, it's pretty much a direct tie to someone just didn't like someone, and they tied a myth to someone's family. I thought that was pretty interesting.
The first tabloid.
See, I'm a big history lover. I always have been, and founding fathers have such interesting stories. They just do. And
yes,
Assassin's Creed 3, when you actually could talk to Benjamin Franklin, like it was just amazing. But I mean,
I had no idea, no idea that I was going to go down that rabbit hole when I was researching it.
The paranormal is nothing but wormholes that we go down, and we hope to come out the other way the same. But
not at all. I want to be different.
All right, well, whatever way you want to come out, hopefully you come out that way. But I mean, I see the Jersey Devil is just one of those ones that's hard for me to believe in. It really just is. Like I don't know what it is. I've heard the stories. I mean, if you listen to, I've listened to. They're in the 16th season now of Monsters Among Us. I've listened to so many people calling their stories of different things. I think I maybe have heard one or two Jersey Devil calls out of 16 seasons. So compared to the amount of Bigfoot calls, the amount of Dogmen calls, I mean, even that's a low number for that show. But I mean, and just the amount of everything else. I mean, I've heard more about the Frogman than I've heard on that show than I heard about the Chupacabras than I've heard about Jersey Devil. So I don't know. It's just the way it goes in my head. It kind of I can't explain my thinking on some things. But
what are some, Jeremy? What do you think are some paranormal topics that are not discussed as much, but should be discussed more?
Well, the number one answer right there is always dogmen. But
okay,
because that is my favorite cryptid. But and it's a newer phenomenon that people didn't really talk about before, and now it's almost as big as Bigfoot. Like that's a great thing. But other than that, I mean, goat men are not talked about enough really because they do exist. They have to. There's enough different ones around the United States alone that people have proof of, and plus they go back into mythology. So I mean, they've been around forever. But
do you consider spiritualism or like those seances, Ouija board, things like that paranormal, or more just the late 1800s where spiritualism was taking root?
They are paranormal 100%. I have had people on the show who still use Ouija boards as ways of scrying and ways of contacting. Like, and all that stuff is more real now than it was back then. That's for damn sure. Back then, it was a parlor trick show. That's all it was most of the time. But these days, I've seen it in action, and it made me a believer. I grew up in the 90s. I always thought that, there's that one psychic shop in town. It's a little house with a storefront. And, like, don't go near that house. They're weird. But, I mean, that's what I grew up with. But, I mean, now I'm a full believer because everybody I've had on my show that's proven to me. And they knew things about me I could after shows ended that like you couldn't Google that and figure that out about me. Like it's just not anything I ever made really public about like family and stuff. So, and like when they all of a sudden say at the end of a show after we go off air, tell me they have a reading for me, and I'm just like, now it's just like, sweet, let's do it. Nice. First couple times it was pure shock. It was just like, oh my god, really? Like I never had a reading before, so that's awesome. Like, but now it's just even more. Now it's just welcoming. I love it.
That's nice.
And I always get the strangest feeling like there's something around me when it happens too. It's the strangest thing. Like right where I'm sitting right now. Like it's not happening now, but I always get ice cold. And like and like I'm looking around, like my dogs will be staring at me sometimes at the same time too. And I'm just like, what the hell's around me right now? But I don't know. It's just and I also think the simulation theory, the Matrix theory, needs to be talked about more. I think I don't know. I've heard a lot of glitch in the Matrix stories over the last couple of years, and it's making me a believer. Like
the Mandela effect.
Yep.
No, not even that.
Well, not that one. That would be the I guess
no, that's part
Mandela effect is part of it, but I mean, that's too subtle. I've heard stories where people are walking down the street in their neighborhood that they lived in for the last 30 years, and they know every street like the back of their hand. And then they go down street, and then they go down another street, and all of a sudden they don't know where they are. Like it's a whole new different neighborhood and different world.
Streets that are there that haven't been there before, or
and then I mean eventually they get out just by walking, and you have to keep walking, but I mean they get out eventually, but it's just, and I mean I've heard of people seeing cars that don't exist in our world. But they see them, and it's only for like a split minute, and then like after that, it's gone. But wheels that never should have existed in our world either, like weird shaped tires and everything. It's just interesting. Like it's
very.
We could do a topic on that.
Yeah, it's like we'll have to tackle that whole topic.
The glitches in the Matrix. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, we have a lot we want to talk about. Monsters
Among Us is definitely a lot of good examples of that one too. But and actually, this one was brought to me by one of my guests that I never really thought of as a paranormal creature. I mean, I always thought it was like a mythological creature, but paranormal. And then he told me he got a lot of calls from them in the Pennsylvania area. And that's dragons.
Still today, current dragons, not mythological.
Still, I mean, they look like the ones that we know about from mythology from Asia and from Europe, but they are supposedly in Pennsylvania mines.
Mines, you say?
And I mean, the cave systems. Don't even get me started on that. That's a whole. You could do.
Well,
you could do 10
I mean,
episodes on that.
the Earth is hollow, and there is
Yes.
multiple
Yes.
civilizations living in the core. So
It keeps going.
it never ends. But you know what? I always say, I'm just like, we might be wrong. We're the wrong ones. There really are. Who knows? The moon is hollow.
Don't get me started on the moon. We'll be here all night. But the hollow Earth thing, I don't think it's some land of the lost like type of shit where it's like we're gonna go down there and see all these species and everything that like are not. I mean, that's possible, but I think really what it is just there are cave systems that go. We know this. There are cave systems that go through most of the that go through most of the states, and then I mean, we've never gone fully through them though. Native Americans did, white men never have, or any American nowadays never has. But what if that's where Sasquatches keep their homes, and that's where dogmen keep their homes? What the hell are you doing, dude? But yeah, I mean, what if that's where all these creatures live? Rakes, I mean,
rakes,
skinwalkers, wendigos, who knows? I mean, there could be a whole society down there of monsters, basically. I mean, but I don't think it's like you're not going to get to the core.
No,
but there are still living dinosaurs on this earth, for God's sake. So
yeah,
why couldn't there be? And I'm not talking alligators and crocodiles. There's like other real living dinosaur cryptids that people have seen for hundreds of years. But so I mean, it's just I don't know. It would explain so much if the Earth was hollow to some degree. I don't think it's completely hollow because it can't be. We wouldn't be surviving on it. But
correct.
But it's definitely hollow to some degree. I mean, there's got to be cave systems that go so deep that man probably would die if they went down there. So I don't know, but I love that you brought Hollow Earth. That's one of my favorites. I completely just went over it in my head.
Have you heard the Secret Diary of Admiral Byrd?
I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of the Hollow Earthers use that as not as a Bible, but kind of as a point of credible evidence, because you had Admiral Byrd, who literally led the expedition of Operation High Jump into Antarctica, where they were going to survey Antarctica, but some also say that he was bringing an invasion fleet to kick the Nazis out of Antarctica and so on. But either way, when he died on his deathbed, apparently his son found a book or his journal, and it detailed his experience on going into Hollow Earth and meeting people called the Masters and so on. And if you read this, and this is where I like doing our shows, where you have to kind of separate the facts from the fantastical, right? And then put context behind all of this. And so the story is pretty much that he's doing a survey. It's him and his radar pilot, and they basically get tractor beamed into a city, is greeted by these tall Nordic looking ETs, gets brought down to a crystal city, get told that, all about the love, peace, nuclear weapons are bad, things like that. And it says, get out of here, go back home and spread the word. And people use that as a Hollow Earth piece because they said there's dinosaurs, there's, 70 some degree weather and so on. But if you actually look at it, no, his son never picked it up. The book is it's basically there's a lot of artistic expressions that people can do, and so people will kind of use Admiral Byrd as an artistic expression to basically talk about not global warming, but being peace, don't use nuclear weapons, things like that. And when you start reading those things and you start picking it apart, where if you actually do research on Admiral Byrd or any of these other things, there's too many fallacies and conflictions, whether it's no, you're not going to have the admiral of the entire operation flying a plane himself, right? You're not going to have just I don't want to go into too much details on like all the things that you could point out, but you just have to be aware of it and cautious of it, because otherwise you're going to use that as fact.
Well, you're going to use it as truth because you don't know better. Yeah,
because you may not know better. And so that's one of the things about our show, right? It's stop thinking with your butt, right? We want to talk about, the content. We want because context matters in these situations, right? Because people can draw two different conclusions based off the exact same facts, and just because you can draw a conclusion doesn't mean it's necessarily the right conclusion, right? So you got to separate the facts, you got to separate the fantastical, and still be open-minded. We're not a debunker or whichever,
No.
but you definitely have to make sure you're asking the right questions, because if you don't ask the right questions, then you may put yourself in a gullible situation, and believe things or get to an extreme situation on some of these topics that we've done, where it's just not healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Oh, it can lead to some issues, but trust me. But the great Derek Hayes said once, everybody has to play the skeptic at some point, because otherwise you're going to believe everything, and what's the point in believing everything, because not everything can be true.
Correct.
Which I mean, you gotta play the skeptic role. You have to. I used to do it on this show a lot more, but I found that my listeners enjoy it when I didn't. Like I started getting good. I started getting the good feedback on Apple when I didn't act like a skeptic all the time, and people want. I mean, I'll ask questions that jump around it, but I'm not gonna straight go in and like start hammering them with like questions that are gonna like make disprove shit. But I'll jump around it if I feel like something's amiss, but I rarely ever do. It's just people are not going to go on a national stage like this, or world stage, because this can be seen all over the world, and they're not going to come on here and just spread lies, because they're not going to get away with it for long if they do. I had a guy on my show who was breaking down the alien autopsy video of the 90s. Like, he found proof of so much proof supposedly of all people connected with it, who was in the video and whatnot. And then as soon as I posted it, this guy comments on YouTube, and he's like, "That man is a liar. I did all the work for that. He stole my research." And I just ignored it. I'm like, I'm not getting in the middle of this. I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get paid for this. It's not my job. It's not my place. You say whatever you want to say, buddy.
There's a lot of one-uppings.
Yeah.
In a lot of these things. So, and that's why I think it's fun, because sometimes we get listeners who like our opinion, because I guess our target audience, if you already know every single thing about the cryptids that we're talking about, or aliens that we're talking about, then we may not be the show for you, right? But we put a different perspective on it. We try to talk about it as if it's new. And I got my military background. I got my I do a lot of problem solving at work and so forth. And so we have to put a different spin on it and try to look at it kind of objectively as much as we can, and hopefully try to have some fun while we do it. So we don't necessarily say, this is what we believe, or it is, or it isn't, but we do talk about it. We give our opinions and so forth. Now, there are some things, whether it's flat earth or whichever, where I try to stay neutral, and I just can't. I couldn't.
I think that's our one topic where we fell from grace.
We had a couple of listeners who were like, "You don't like flat earth? Bad review." But it was fun either way.
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't get into the flat earth thing, and it's because I think it's the stupidest fucking theory in the world. But
we call what do you say? Flat earth comedians of science.
The comedians of science, those flat earthers.
Well, I don't know if that's them or the Scientologists, but yeah. But
they know each
I don't
other.
know. Oh, they do. But it's just
it's fun but researching groups or individuals that we use the term denialism a lot, which is where even in the face of evidence, you choose willingly to deny what's there, and so you just what's in front of you. So there are a couple of cults like that.
Now, but tell me though, have you become a believer in some things as you've been researching them?
I think
you jumped onto the crazy train?
Well, I think it's one of those things where it feels nice to.
Yeah.
Right. It's an exciting, but again, because there's a lot of things that we do, you don't find 100% fact or whichever. Yeah. I will tell you that I was super disappointed when I researched Roswell, and because I was 90% in on it when we did the research, and then when you put context between the War of the Worlds, when did UFO actually that term first get coined? It only got coined literally 2 weeks prior to the incident. When you had jet planes get invented, when you had super alloy technology that just started to get around, and you put all these different things together when we research the incident, and then when there were aliens involved, you just had alien groups just one-upping each other to make it look like it's even crazier and crazier and crazier. And then so I'm like, I do not think that aliens were at Roswell. So that was a controversial conclusion that I had for my
But
research.
even still, before we even started podcasting, you've always had this X-Files.
Oh, totally
Mulder
X-Files.
Trying to want to believe the alien
100%.
experience, and I've never really been on board with you. But since we've been doing this podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, they're totally aliens. Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially after doing my episode on the Virginia UFO incident.
Yeah,
Virginia, Brazil.
Have you guys looked into Barney and Betty Hill yet?
A little bit.
I know it. We haven't picked that as one of our topics yet, though.
Oh,
apparently Obama's supposed to be. I don't know if he already completed his new episode on that. He was going to release something in relationship to that.
Oh, he's the president. He should know what's really going on there, but I don't know. I don't know. See, the government hides so much, and that's what the Men in Black are for. But
yeah, exactly.
Well,
have you guys hit that one yet?
My Virginia Brazil UFO incident does come across the Men in Black a little bit there.
Yeah,
they come into some of our stories every once in a while,
but not a dedicated episode.
Oh, there's so much there. Though now they're called the Khaki Men.
With the times.
Because supposedly nowadays they changed from wearing black suits, because who wears black suits anymore? Correct. And now they wear Hawaiian shirts and khaki shorts because that's what dads wear nowadays.
Now they just look like feds. Nice.
They look
great
feds
blend in.
Trying to blend in. Like aliens when they try to be a human.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of the interesting pieces, somewhat spiritual, somewhat alien piece, right? Where if you look at some of these orbs, right? Because recently you had UFOs, and then they changed the term to UAP. And during one of the research we were looking at for Project Bluebeam that they were coming down. I came across something that actually makes sense in my opinion, where you have NASA that is basically has these laser beams, right? But what the lasers are actually doing is it actually causes plasma balls to kind of form. And there's a lot of military applications for that, right? If you can create a visual light or orb or something like that in the sky, and may make people think that there's an air raid or something like that. But what those things also do is it actually picks up radar signature too. So you can create these plasma balls with the interaction of the lasers, and I go in detail on like the sciencey piece of it and how they're able to make it happen and so on. But again, there's military applications in terms of you can have 13 or plus on a radar, make it look like you're a country or whoever is being attacked, and then attack them from the opposite side. Or you can fill their radar with so much pings and hits where you don't know what's real or what's not real. And if you do all of that, that basically takes away a lot of these UAP phenomenon that people are associating either with spirits or with actual UFOs and things like that. I just thought it was because we've had some pictures of UAPs very, very close up. And if you look at it, it doesn't look like a spaceship, but it does look like almost like a plasma reaction. And I'm like, that would actually kind of explain a lot of these UAPs that are out there. And so I just thought that was interesting because there's a military application. And if you were the government, why wouldn't you want people talking about the UAPs? Because you don't want them to know that you have this advanced technology for military application. And that's why the government actually loves the UFO and the UAP phenomena, because they can explain that or tie anything that they do government wise or new military technology and so on, to that. And people don't ask questions. They go down that rabbit hole. And so that's why I just think some of these topics we do are interesting.
Yeah, it's I mean, anything to do with the government in this type of field is just, there's always so much more to it than we'll ever know, and that's the scary part. That's the worst part of it all, is because the government's, anytime you think the government's covering something up, oh, they're covering it up, but not in the way you think they are.
Oh, way more than you think they are.
Yeah.
And then some.
Well, it has been an honor having you guys on, and we got into so many different wormholes. It's just been one after another. It's been lovely. It's been truly a lovely conversation. An hour flew the hell by.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for having us, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure. But before you go, tell my listeners where they can find you guys, where they can find your pod. Just promote yourself to the fullest.
You can find our show, Stop Thinking With Your Butt, on any platform you like to listen. You can email us, stopthinkingwithyourbutt@gmail.com, on Twitter, Stop Thinking WYB, Instagram, Stop Thinking With Your Butt, and we have a Facebook page open.
Yeah, we cover topics, anything strange, weird, or unusual, which again, it's pretty much everything, whether it's from mysteries, aliens, conspiracies, cryptids,
anything
you name it,
strange or weird,
we'll review it.
You. And as our sign off, stay curious
and stop thinking about it. That was not in sync at all.
But it's usually more in sync.
Yeah.
I love that sign off. I really do. And to all my listeners, thank you for listening. I'll see you in half a week. To all the watchers who watched and who will watch this in replay, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. And you know where you can find me, all my listeners. If not, listen to the outro to hear it again. Until next time, thank you all. And one last time, thank Katie and Chris for coming on. It's been a fun show. See y'all next time.